We are studying the Bhaja Govindam, and we are sitting at the feet of Adi Shankaracharya, the 8th century sage, who is imparting to us a very important quality that will expedite our journey towards mukti, moksha. And that without that quality, we cannot think we are moving towards it, towards that goal. And that quality is the quality of viveka, the right discernment between truth and appearance, shadow and reality, which then leads to correct vairagyam. Vairagyam can be understood as vairaga. Raga means coloring from ranja. When we become decolored from our worldliness, then our true spiritual being self-reveals itself. We don't have to go somewhere to grab hold of the truth. The truth is within us, but it is covered up with worldliness, with ego, with false identities. So when we employ viveka, start making right choices, right perceptions, right discernment, and right discrimination, then vairagyam or detachment from what is not true occurs automatically. It is not difficult. It is not an intellectual gymnastic. The belief is that when the right knowledge, jnanam, is provided to the earnest seeker, then at that time, the earnest seeker automatically begins to flourish from imbibed viveka, and vairagyam or detachment becomes natural mode. Bhaj Govindam is a deep Vedantic non-dual text. It is leading us towards the greater yogic path of Jnana Yoga, steadily anchored in Bhakti Yoga. Sometimes this mistake is done, especially when people have an inadequate understanding of the Shastra, that Bhakti Yoga is separate from Jnana Yoga. And both of these are separate from Karma Yoga. And all of these are separate from Upasana Yoga. But in reality, they all work together. And especially Bhakti leads to Jnanam, because it leads to the melting and the softening of the ego. And Jnanam evokes Bhakti, because through Jnanam or wisdom of the Upanishads, one realizes that there is no other reality besides the reality of Ishvara. And that Ishvara is not the deified versions of gods of different religions, but that Ishvara is that truth, that light that dwells within every God, that truth which dwells in every eye, every heartbeat. Bhaja Govindam by Shankaracharya is that profound composition that compels the true seeker to ask this question: why do I have this life? Why am I participating in this life, this transactional life? Why am I stressing after acquisition, collection of wealth, objects, things? Why? And though I am duty bound and I look after my family and I take care of people's need, why am I still suffering? What is the purpose of my life? It compels us to think about these deep topics. And it leads to a churning within us. And that churning leads to viveka or discernment. And the fruit of that healthy churning is vairagyam. We self-dissociate from all the craziness, illusions and delusions that had captured us, kidnapped us. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Samprapte San Nihite Kale, Samprapte San निहिते काले नहीं नहीं रक्षति डुक्कृण करणे नहीं नहीं रक्षति डुक्कृण करणे. In the very first verse, Acharya Shankara clarifies to us that, oh one with the Mudamati, with the delusional mind, understand that your life is limited. Time in this life is limited, and you can get all caught up intellectually trying to spiritualize your journey by learning Sanskrit or Latin or whatever be the language of spirituality, by becoming a master of this scripture and that scripture. But over intellectualization in spirituality becomes a illusion. It is a curtain. We think that we are in the company of the ultimate truth, but what we are really are parrots. And Govinda represents here Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Instead, what should we do? Govinda here represents the ultimate reality. Govinda, as I have discussed in the first session, you can go back and review. Govinda has many meanings. Govinda, yes, represents Krishna and Vishnu, but ultimately Govinda represents the one who is known, that truth, that Ishvara, that ultimate reality that is known through the Vedas. Gopihi Veti iti Govinda, that which is known through the Vedas. Another meaning of Govinda is Ga Vidanti iti Govinda, that which is omniscient, all-knowing, that supreme consciousness, which is knowing the details, the past, present, future, every thought, every idea of every being, and has a record of their every deed over thousands of lifetimes, which transcends past, present, and future, which illuminates the entire Jagat, the entire universe. That is Govinda. So the landscape of godliness in the Vedas is not limited to this male type of version of God or female version of God or mixed version of God, which in itself is quite an expansion. But godliness or divinity is an all-pervading consciousness, and that is what Govinda means. What is that mastermind? What is that universal consciousness because of which you are participating in this life, which knows your life completely? And you should offer bhaja towards it. And bhaja here does not simply mean kirtan or bhajan. Bhaja literally is the root word for bhakti. Bhaja and bhakti means become emotionally connected, not just intellectually. Become completely, with your complete being, engaged with that supreme reality. And again, it is said, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudmade, 3 times. So through your body, you should Bhaja Govinda, Kayak, mind, Manasa, speech, Vacha. Through all 3 formats, when we connect with that reality, then alone we start getting aligned with who am I? Who are these relationships, good or bad? What is going on? What am I chasing? Where am I spending my time? Is it futile or is it helpful? Is it leading me towards the path of Shreyas, as I mentioned earlier, or is it drowning me further and further in the acquisition or the path of prayers? Is it making me a true yogi, or am I simply wearing the garb of a yogi, but I am in reality a bhogi? That is the question. We have already covered three important verses. The first one especially is important because it was delivered by Shankaracharya in a searing moment of compassion towards a Sanskrit scholar at the Manikarnika Ghat in Varanasi who was busy chanting Sanskrit grammar rules. And he said, wait, when that moment of, when that kala comes, when the time of death comes, then these Sanskrit rules will not help you. And he calls him Mudamati, the ignorant one, the delusional one. This was not from sarcasm. Sometimes a doctor has to say things as they are. They are harsh, but someone needs to hear it to wake up from their sleepwalking stance. As a result, Shankaracharya wanted to point out to him and to him, through him, to all of us, that your last thought at death matters, at the time of death. And at that time, the matrix of your mind will not be in your control. You may have been leading a life of superficiality, thinking some thoughts, saying something, pretending to be something else. But at that time, all your pretensions will collapse and your innermost reality will come out. And if your innermost reality is smitten with vasanas and trishnas, as taught and explained earlier in earlier sessions, then that is what you will become. And that is why even in the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu, Govinda asserts, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam Tyajtante Kalevaram Tam Tameveti Kaunteya Sada Tadbhava Bhavitaha. Whatever one remembers or recollects or thinks about while discarding the body at the time of death. See, the soul is so powerful that whatever it thinks about, then it attains that state or that life or that story because it is powerful. Remember, in brackets, it is Atma. And so the mind travels to that. So we have the story of the king Bharata who was a great yogi, and he took sannyasa, and he was meditating in the forest, and he was moving towards his goal of liberation and self-realization, except that he witnessed a mother deer who was pregnant at that time being attacked by another animal, and in distress she gave birth and then she died. And he had such compassion come up for that baby deer. So he brought the baby deer home. It was a newborn, and he kept it close to his skin, gave it warmth like a mother, and fed the baby deer and took care of it. And then as the baby deer opened its eyes, grew, began to eat tender grass, and then run around and frolic. King Bharata had a great joy in witnessing the life that he had created in this baby deer and how it came back to him with such joy. Except that when the time came for Mrityu or death, when Yamaraja, the deity of death, which is really just that one deity, one truth coming forth as this principle of death, came towards him, his final thoughts were concerns for the deer. Who would give it hay? Who would call out to it so it is safe at night? Who would cover it with a blanket? And as a result, um, he was born as a deer in the next birth. So life cycle started again. It's not necessarily a fall, but it is definitely another life cycle of Janma, samsara, and then mrityu, death again. But because of all his tapasya, his tapas, all his yogic fire, fortunately, this deer had memory of what had happened, of how he was right here in this forest being a yogi. And so what this deer did was he hung around the ashrams of great sages to listen to satsangs. And then when time came, his thought as a deer was of Om. His thought was of the ultimate reality, that I am really just I am that ultimate reality. I'm having this this whole experience. May I merge back into my true essence. May I be samsara mukta, be free of jivana mukta, be free of this. And as a deer, he attained um, nirvana. He attained freedom from the body. And Bharata came to be known as Jada Bharata and became a great sage in our tradition. In fact, why wait for death? Whatever thoughts you are thinking, spell out your next reality. If you are thinking lusty thoughts, uh, then those are your thoughts. If you are thinking thoughts full of body vasana, then all you think about is how to pretty the body, make it better, and then one pimple, one boil, one little fissure, it creates depression within you. So or if you have world vasana, then you're always comparing yourself with others, and you're never enough. And if you have shastra vasana, then you are a tragedy because you are near the truth, but you have just surrounded yourself up with words and words and words, and you've become bombastic with how many texts you have studied and with who you have studied and how fast you can recite something and how melodiously you can sing. But that original truth has missed you. As a result, um, this entire Bhaja Govindam, after this first important verse where he says, wake up, stop chanting and hold on to Govinda, which again is the ultimate reality. Through bhakti and through jnanam, approach that ultimate reality. Then the remaining verses are a waking up of that delusional mind. And the first 7 verses are especially almost like a portrayal of every being, not of Indians, not of Americans, not of Peruvians, not of New Zealanders, but every human being. I am a spiritual teacher, but look inside me, and those 7 verses pertain to me too. And as a result, they pertain to you too. Every human being is subject to these delusions. What we do with these delusions, when we are taught about them, do we wake up and change the way we think, or do we stay submerged in the mud of that kind of thinking? That is up to us. And the timing of when this knowledge comes to us is not in our hand. The timing of will this knowledge come to us early in our life, in the middle of our life, in the last day of our life. Whenever this knowledge comes, then we say that you are fortunate, wake up, let go, develop the right discernment, vivekaha, and as a result, benefit from vairagyam. And whatever your soul will pull itself away from, whichever delusion, then that delusion can no longer compromise you, no longer force you into living life situations and future life situations, because, oh no, the story doesn't end here. And based on how you think, you will have your next life similarly suffocating, similarly disturbing, similarly disappointing. So, to change the paradigm, we have been examining these beautiful verses. To expedite on the time, I'm not going to review the first 3 verses. We've already done them, but in short, in the second verse, we were told, Mood Jehi Hidanagama Trishna. O Moda Mati, O Moda mind, let go of this Trishna to accumulate wealth. And wealth is not just money, but all kinds of wealth. But let it go. Let it go and live in the normal, organic way. Whatever is meant to come to you, whatever is meant to go with you, that is the super mind, the supreme mind, the Govinda mind, that is doing it for you. You will be taken care of. And I gave a whole discourse on it that you can go back and review. Then we looked at the other delusion that we all get caught up in is the body. And especially when we are young, we see the body as the body elicits lust within us, and the senses draw us towards it. While kama or sexuality is a normal goal of the Vedic tradition, but excessive, out of control thinking is not, and we are asked to normalize our relationship with it. Now I will chant to you the verses 4, 5, 6, and 7. I do not know if I can complete all 7 verses, but I will chant them because they go together. Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tadvajjivitam atishaya chapalam Vidhi vyadhya bhimanagrasatam lokashoka hatam cha samastam yavat vitto parjana saktaha tavan nij pari varo raktaha pascha jivati jar jar dehe vartam kopi na pृच्छति गेहे यावत pavano nivasati dehe तावत पृच्छति कुशलम गेहे गतवति वायो देहापाय भार्या बिंभ्यति तस्मिन् काये बालस्तावत् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीसक्तः वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तासक्तः परे ब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न सक्तः. Now these 4 verses, as you know, Bhaja Govindam is like a hammer. That's why it is known as Mohamudgara. It hammers away the delusions. These are rather harsh verses. Let me just give you a warning. These really hit at you hard because they help you let go of your materialistic delusions and embrace your spiritual identity more and more. So it is, after all, a stomper of delusions, and it has to do its work, and that's what it will do. So what is Nalini Dalagata? So Nalini is another word for the lotus. And, the lotus plant is, the leaf is often submerged in water and then it gradually rises. And sometimes a drop of water stays on the leaf. And then when the wind moves the leaf, the drop of water moves on it, and that drop of water glistens like a little shining pearl. So it has this existence, but you can imagine what an ephemeral existence it is, because the leaf is moving with the wind, and any moment it can tip over and the water will fall, or in the sun it will evaporate, right? So what Shankara is doing is he is comparing our life and its uncertainty to the instability and ephemeral existence of that drop of water. So Nalini dalagat jalamati taralam. Tat jivita matishaya chapalam. So what this literally means is that that your life, ati chapalam, your life is equally unstable as is the instability, transience, and short-lived existence of that drop of water. Moreover, in Shankara goes on to say that everyone vidhi, know this. This is the word vidhi, means know this. Vyadhya bhimana grasata. There is a vyadhi, there is a disease that is holding on to every person in this universe, our known universe, our earth, has a disease. And what is that disease? That disease is a disease of abhimana or egotism. Abhimana is a Sanskrit word. It can be used in a positive sense, as in healthy pride, self-respect, healthy boundaries. But anything to do with pride is a slippery slide. It can be a tad bit too much, and then it becomes negative. Then it leads to conceit and arrogance and rigidness and a sense of me, and mine, mamakara and ahamkara. And this abhimana is due to the presence of ahankara or the ego. And what is the ego? As a reminder, the ego is nothing, it's just a shadow. It's a shadow born out of spiritual metaphysical ignorance. It is your erroneous, false self-perception that I am just this body, this brown colored body, which belongs to a certain geographical location on earth, and then in that location, in this state and in this family, just this very limited self view, and and the whole sense of self is limited by geographical limitations, cultural limitations, religious limitations, senses, mind, and intellect. And this is what I think, this is what I know, and this is my life, and this is my reality. And so the great self, Atma, becomes reduced to ahankara, and ahankara is a disease-causing agent or phenomena within us. In fact, it causes a universal disease, the disease of conceit and pride and wanting to control things to go a certain way. And as a result, all of us who are diseased by the ego, while our life is so transitory and ephemeral and anything can happen at any time, and imagine that the tiny bead of water is filled with ego and it wants to be comfortable while it is a bead of water. It wants to be recognized while it is this bead of this drop of water. It wants to be fanned and taken care of and be told by another drop of water how much it is loved. How ridiculous. And because our requirements are not met, that is why we are unhappy. We are sorrowful. We experience every change as a calamity. We never wonder why we are here. Why is this calamity occurring? Why, what mind is organizing all this, and why am I on the receiving end? Why am I not part of that intelligence setup? We don't question that. We just simply want. So we have Sharira Vasana, body Vasana, we have Loka Vasana, worldly things we want, and we want even scriptural Vasana. And that's what the drop of water is. We are like that. And as a result, what does the verse say? That know this, Vyadhya Abhimanagrastam, everybody is suffering from Abhimana, the disease of egotism. Lokam means the whole world. Shoka hatam cha samastam. Shoka means grief, and as a result, we are all in grief. All the time we are crying. We are not crying because we are a drop of water and our life will end any moment. We think death will never come to us. And we are just crying because our ego is not fulfilled. Right now, if you look inside you, you can look at all the things your ego feels is unfulfilled, and that is the cause of shokam. Shoka. That is why even the Bhagavad Gita begins with Arjuna's shoka, Arjuna's grief. We're all smitten with grief. We are not happy. We cannot be happy until we are in the grip of the ego, which causes dependence, attachments, delusions, illusions, longings, vasanas, desires, and stupid passions that waste all our time. I'm calling them stupid because they are often just stupid. They're not no more than that, but the society, oh, do you have a passion? Then let us congratulate you for your passion. And is there any wish unfulfilled? Then do this course and read this book and chant this way and do this way, and your wishes will be fulfilled. This is how the society serenades us. Who does it serenade? We, the drops of water, because our life is that unstable. And it is important for us to understand. Yavad vitto parjana saktaha tavan nij pari varo raktaha pascha jivati jar jar dehe vartam kopina pritchati gehe. Now the Acharya says that as long as there is an ability within you to earn, to save, to spend, that long you are important. Later on, when you become old, you have a jarjara sharira, an infirm body that is falling apart, then people may be at home around you, but they don't really care to sit down and speak even a word to you. You are there, but not there. So if you're a contributor, if you're financial contributor, financial non-contributor, but at least healthy, or you are a complete liability, young or old. Relationships change according to your status. So we think that there is something called absolute love, soul love, um, within your own family or the family you create, but all love within samsara is conditional. All love is conditional. It is not unconditional. It is the mudamati, the delusional mind that goes in search of conditional love, unconditional love. It does not exist. There are some conditions for you to be respected, wanted, loved, cared for. You have to be a contributor. You have to be useful. You have to be in some way even a benefactor. Then benefactors are loved even more. When you fulfill these conditions, you are loved. You contribute through wealth, through time, through care. Otherwise, the way people talk to you, how much they talk to you, all that changes. And this is a universal truth. And especially when old age comes to the body. And this is important because he is continuously hammering on the body. We have so much pride in the body. But with old age does come. The body does become infirm, does become incapable of walking. There are, Vedic texts which talk about slobbering and saliva coming out and teeth falling and deafness. And it's a reality check that this is coming up or it's already happening to you. And people are changing. They won't make that much eye contact. They won't spend that much time with you. They won't share their ideas with you. Conversations will change. And even though people say, oh, please, may they have mukti, may they leave their body soon, what they're really saying is, okay, may I be free of this person. There is a there is an Upanishadic text, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in which Yagnavalkya, the teacher, gives a sermon, a teaching to his wife Maitreyi. And he says, and they're talking about love and relationships, and he says, it is not for the sake of the husband, my dear, that he is loved, but for one's own sake, that he is loved. It is not for the sake of wife, my dear, that she is loved, but for one's own sake, that she is loved. It is not for the sake of the sons, my dear, that they are loved, but for the one's own sake, that they are loved. So, and it goes on and on. It even goes on to say that all love by samsaric humans is conditional. So we don't love that person for that person. We love that person for what that person means to our person, to our inside person, to us. We love the other for our well-being. And if they start eroding our well-being, then we do not love that person. We withdraw that love. Even from our children, we say to them, enough. A point comes where parents forgive a lot and accommodate a lot and love a lot. And afterwards, they say, you're on your own. This happens too. So, is the world bad here? No. What Shankara is trying to point out is that if you expect unconditional love from this world, then you are a Muda. You are delusional. Wake up. Do not, do not expect strawberries on a peach tree. This samsara is not the place where you shall find love. Love dwells only in a couple of places. One is right here. But to find this place, you have to find a teacher whose love shows up through their teaching. And ultimately, when you connect with that ultimate reality, there is that unconditional love starts flowing towards you. This is hard, but this is something we have to understand. Only then we shall move towards Ishvara. Ishvara here is not just the Hindu god, again, reminder, Ishvara. Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, Karta, Samartha, Ishvara, that great power which causes manifestation of the universe, Srishti, sustenance of the universe, Sthiti, dissolution of the universe, Laya, externally and internally within you, that power is Ishvara. And all love is here. So when you open the doors to bhakti through jnanam, because this is not the ordinary bhakti of religions, this is not the bhakti of cultures and traditions. It's the bhakti that can only be found through the satsang of a jnani, of a wise teacher from the wise tradition. Teacher becomes wise because of being connected to the wise tradition. It is only in these teachings that we find the source of love. And what am I doing running around in a roaming around in a desert of love, looking for love, and everybody promising love? And we still remain parched and thirsty. So that is why the Vedic tradition says at best you can get dharmic behavior from somebody. And they are dharmic because that's their standards. But love you can only find from within you and from the divine source. So do not count on all the relationships. That is what we are being taught. Allow these relationships to be transactional. Understand, do not be heartbroken. Understand that they're just doing what they're meant to do. This is that samsara setup. Just like the planets orbit and they are following the laws of Ishvara, in the same way, no one is capable of giving you love. You have to find the love and receive the love. That is all there is. The absolute within you and the absolute in the universe, when they make love, when they commune, when they connect, that is when there is love within you. And then you become a source of love, a fountain of love. You never feel needy of love. And you feel like, and when people come around you, they feel loved without you saying the word, I love you. And that is why the Upanishads are books of love. Because one verse, one teaching from these Vedic source texts bring you back into love. That is where the great values, the yamas, the niyamas, they arose from a place of love. Now moving on to time permitting, verse 6. Yavat pavano nivasati dehe tavat prichati kushalamagehe gatavati vayo deha paye bharya bipyati tasmin kaya. This one really gets at me because it says that as long as there is prana or life, wind here, pavana means prana or wind, the life force within the body, so long the people at your home inquire about your welfare for this body that they love, this body that they recognize as you, their wife, husband, son, partner, daughter-in-law, grandchild, this body is mine, this belongs to me, and I'm related to it. So until it is alive, all this can go on. But once the breath, the prana leaves the body and the body becomes a corpse, that very instant, relationships change. And if you ask the bharya or the partner, the husband, the wife, the caretaker, the most loving person, to spend the night with the corpse, then what will they do? They will run because they have fear of the corpse. That means, what does it show? It reveals, this is very hard, that even the bharya technically means wife in Sanskrit, but this is a gender neutral teaching. And please understand that bharya also represents husband or other gendered partner, or even a parent or a caregiver, somebody who really, really like touched your body and loved it and fed it till the last moment. But the moment prana, that life force on Ishvara's will departs, then you're a corpse. And then you have to be put in a refrigerator. And then you have to be removed from the house. And nobody wants to spend a night with you. So that is the bitter truth revealed by in poetry. So whatever I hold on to at that time, my money, my bank accounts, um, your intellectual property, say you've written books or poetry or drama, your the houses that you've built and the furniture you've bought, and the clothes that you've decorated your body with, and the creams and potions you've put on it, nothing is with you. The body becomes loathsome once the life exits it. It becomes fear imposing and disgusting, even for the people who had loved it until a moment ago. Why is Shankara revealing us these truths? So that ultimately we don't suffer that much. We don't overestimate the body and we don't underestimate it other. We understand that the body is given to us by nature, given to us by a supreme intelligence for us to utilize on the path of moksha, mukti, samadhi, nirvana, not to not to get all attached to it and all the relationships of the body and think that this is my legacy. Just like doctors do not care. They give you the medicine anyway, whether it's bitter. Acharyas must not care too much to over sweeten the reality, to hammer something into place. These truths have to be spoken. So our body-based relationships, this thing emerged from my body, my son or daughter or other gendered child. So this is mine and this will be my protection. No. That very child will not want to be with your corpse. So what we are learning is, sure, feed the body, clothe the body, heal the body, give it some Ayurvedic lifestyle to keep it healthy, but do not go into a body vasana. Do not get all, become that body, because you cannot retain this body permanently, and no one shall keep this body. You will be forced to exit it, and others will also discard it. So this body does not have an intrinsic worth of its own. The life force within, which is your real self, that matters. And your journey after you leave this specific body matters. That is worth billions of units of attention. Your journey, your soul journey, the yatra, journey that you have to take place. And your connection with the divine principle, the supreme intelligence that is orchestrating all this, understanding it more, um, studying it and submitting to it, that is important. And to remember that before this body ends and I have to exit, and then I have to be on a journey that I cannot control. Just like you didn't control this life, you can control your next life. It's part of the greater Govinda intelligence. Then what you're going to do? So you have this body and you want to use this body to show up for satsang, to purify your thoughts, to clean up your relationships, to sort out your dark karma. This is that one body. So while you have the body, you want to attain the jnanam, the knowledge, and you want to soften the ego that rests in this body through bhakti, so that you can, when it's time for you, you're awake, you are alert, and you can say, okay, thank you for the body. I hand it back to the elements. May it become earth, water, air, space, fire again, and off I go. And because I take ownership of my thoughts and actions, so I know that my next life will be conducive of my spiritual path, not regressive. So body is a temporary container. Take care of it, respect it. It belongs to the divine agency of Ishvara. You have to give it back. Do not fill it up with chemicals, but do not over pamper it. Do not worry at it as it ages. Just let it do its own thing while you do your own thing, separate from the body. Might as well just complete the verse 7. बालस्तावत् क्रीडासक्तः तरुणस्तावत् तरुणीसक्तः वृद्धस्तावत् चिन्तासक्तः परे ब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न सक्तः. This, by the way, is a very famous text, a famous verse. The first one is very popular, people chant it. as if they know it all. And then they chant this one. But this is also another hard-hitting one. See, it's about the time we spend. And and it says simply that when we are bala, when we are children, then we are absorbed in playtime, playthings, play, krida, play. Um, we play games, we play board games, we climb trees, and just play. Then when we are taruna, we are youth, then we are caught up in youthful interest, which is that sensuality, sexuality for the gender that we wish to mate with. We're so caught up with it. It's kind of the underlying theme, and that's all we are interested in. When we become older, vriddha, and old doesn't mean very old, but when we start maturing, all kinds of worries take over our mind. Worry for wealth, worry for house payments, worry for this, worry for that, worry for aging parents, worry for growing children. It's a stage of worry. And so that takes up our mind. And then Shankaracharya says, no one sets their mind on the eternal, the Brahmani or Brahman Saktaha. Brahman is the name, is the word for eternal existence, eternal reality, the ultimate truth, the highest consciousness. So no one does that. If they were to do that, if they were to take out time in their life, whether they were young, youthful, or older, to revel in Brahman, Ishvara, that reality which I unfold through my classes, which the scriptures unfold, then we would we would have objects in our life, but we would not be dependent on them for our happiness. We would not need them for pleasure. We would not need people and things for our happiness. They would be there coming and going because we realize this is samsara, but we would revel in the ultimate self, the Atma, Paramatma, Brahman, Ishvara. These are the keywords. So same thing, we're talking about the same Atma self, and we would experience our happiness, our completeness, our fullness, our contentment, our power, our joy, our elevation, our nobility from within. You see, the Atma, your true self is, which is divine, is inherently asangaha, asangoham. It is unattached. It is not needing to be attached to this or that or this person or that thing or that circumstance for it to be Atma. Atma does not need to succeed to be Atma. Atma does not need to be married or in partnership or in active sexual phase to be Atma. And Atma's nature is what? Ananda, happiness. Atma in itself, in fact, the more alone it becomes, the more in isolation and the more within itself it goes, the more it withdraws, the more happiness increases. And that is why when people go into this stage of deep, deep Atma Vichara or contemplation on Atma, they become more inward, self-satisfied, inwardly content, cheerful, positive, blissful, magnetic, happy. Everything just changes without them needing to put something on their skin or dye their hair or paint their nails or I don't know, or get this education degree on their wall and get that important car parked in their garage. None of that is needed. Inward, the knowledge alone is enough. So the more we extricate ourselves from our attachments and our false dependencies, the more the Sat Chit Ananda, the ultimate Sat Satyam, I spoke about Sat earlier in the earlier session, the ultimate reality, the pure consciousness Chit, and the ultimate never-ending bliss just keeps revealing itself. But what do? We postpone. Children postpone unconsciously because they don't know any better, and so they keep playing. Youth uh, postpone subconsciously. They know there's something more, but they keep getting attracted towards, you know, sexual escapades and sensuality and food and entertainment and all that karma things. And as mature people, we we postpone consciously. We know that this is urgent. We know that this is necessary. But many of us, even after making a pledge to complete Bhaj Govindam, may not be able to complete it because we are worrying about this and worrying about that. So consciously, we know that this is the only thing that gives us peace, and we still postpone it. I will listen to this video tomorrow. I will complete it tomorrow. So I will think about it later. So we just hand over our mind to worldly things, and that's that. And in the process, we miss the bus. So this, in short, is a characterization. These 7 verses are a characterization of your life, my life, our life. And we have an opportunity with the grace of the Acharya, the teacher, to show us that we can make different choices. And what is that choice? Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Samprapte San Nihite Kale. नहीं नहीं रक्षति डुक्रे न करणे. Stop trying to intellectualize your spirituality. None of these words will help you when that time comes. Mura jahi dhanagama trishna Kuru Satputim Manasiva Trishna Yallabhase Nija Karamopatam Vittam Tena Vinodaya Chetam. Oh, delusional mind, let's just calm down. Let's not run after acquisition Trishna with Satbuddhi, a sattvic mind. Let me be satisfied with what comes to me in natural way. Nari stana bhara nabhidesham drishtva maga mohavesham etan mansam vasadi Karam Manasi Vichantaya Varam. When I look at the opposite sex or the body that attracts me, let me see the reality of muscle, blood, and hormones. This is just a container to reach self-realization. While sex is okay, let it not make me crazy. Nalini Dalagata Jalamati Taralam Tatvajjivitam Atishaya Chapalam Vidhi Vyadhya Bhimana Grasatam Loka Shoka Hatam Chasamastam. My life is fragile, just like a drop of water that is sitting in a lordly way on top of a lotus leaf. It doesn't know that its end is near. In the meantime, it's caught up with its sense of me and mindness. I too am diseased with my problematic ego that's never fulfilled and demands fulfillment, even though it's about to end. यावद्वित्तो पार्जन सक्तः तावन्निज परिवारो रक्तः पश्चाज्जीवति जर जर देहे वार्तं कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे. All these relatives, the festival of friends and people in who I invest so much time and energy. As my body ages, my mouth drools and I can see. And when I'm deaf and cannot walk and cannot sleep, then they won't be there nor bother to talk to me. All they can see is a body that is about to go. They only know the body that's healthy. When it's radiant, then they love me. Yavat pavano nivasati dehe tavat prichati kushalam gehe gatavati vayo deha paye bharya bimbyati tasmin kaye. This is hard to swallow, but this is the reality. The moment I'm not here, the body will be thrown away. Today it is loved by the people who say they love me, but when the breath leaves it, they will do away with the body. Balastavata krida saktaha tarunastavata taruni saktaha vrithastavata चिंता सक्तः परिब्रह्मणि कोऽपि न सक्तः. I wasted my life as a child in playthings, as a youth in fondling other bodies. As I've matured, my mind has been taken over. My worldly problems and worldly worry. Let me find the time to think about ultimate reality. Who am I and who is divinity? So I hope this impromptu singing by me supports you. Take care. Gemma, until next time.